All right, ladies and gentlemen, how are you guys doing today on this Tuesday, March the 2nd, 2021? What a fucking year it's going to be here on the channel. Hard to believe we've already passed through 2 months of 2021. Thank you for joining me here tonight for another Metallica episode of Music of Destruction. Bringing you the best in metal-related content right here on YouTube on the only metal channel you'll ever fucking need. If you missed anything in the past week, get caught up on all my latest videos by clicking the upper right corner of the screen right now. I would really appreciate it. If you'd like me to review anything, please make suggestions down in the comment section down below. That'd be great. No slam, deathcore, metalcore, or modern tech death bullshit, please and thank you. And please remember to hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell so you don't miss anything. You are looking at the hardest working metal channel on the platform, and I will be resuming live streams with Thursday night's live stream, and of course the subscriber radio show will be coming back on Saturday. Thursday night's live stream, I'm doing a live fundraiser for Oz Fox. I got caught up in work and other things, I wasn't able to do it, but we're doing it this Thursday. Welcome to Album Review Tuesdays here on the channel. Tonight I'm doing another subscriber request, and this one comes from the user Dusty Forsyth, and he has asked me to review Cancer to the Gory End. And yes, folks, this is an OSDM classic released in 1990 on Silent Scream Productions. At least the CD version, the vinyl, and the cassette version had different record companies handling those formats. So the lineup onto the Gory End is as follows. We have Ian Buchanan on bass, Carl Stokes on drums, John Walker on guitars and vocals. Guest lineup, we had Tim Lewis keyboards on tracks 6 and 9, and John Tardy on the backing vocals for track 9. Now before we get into the review, I'm going to give you guys some background history on Cancer. Now they were formed in one night in 1988 in the Tontine Public House in Ironbridge, Telford, by drummer Carl Stokes, guitarist John Walker, and bassist Ian Buchanan, which is really fucking cool. Now the band quickly put together their first 2-track demo, No Fucking Cover, at the Pitts studio in Birmingham, owned by ex-Starfighters vocalist Steve Burton at the time. Now the demo was produced by Stevie Young, the nephew of AC/DC's Angus Young, and engineered by Big Mick Hughes, of the live sound engineer for Metallica. Now the band also began playing live, starting with their first gig in Birmingham, opening for Bomb Disneyland, and including shows with the likes of Bolt Thrower, Cerebral Fix, and GBH. So how cool is that to be playing with fucking Bolt Thrower? I mean, that's pretty sick. Now a second demo session was recorded in 1989 and was followed shortly by the bootleg live album Bloodbath in the Acid, which was recorded at Wrexham Memorial Hall and pressed on the Headache label. However, No Fucking Cover had secured Cancer a deal with Vinyl Solution, and in winter of 1989 the band recorded their debut album To the Gory End over 4 days at Locos Studios in USK, or the UK I believe. The record was then mixed by Scott Burns, of course, the producer of More Sound Studios. Now of course it was Scott Burns. All you gotta do is listen to how this fucking album sounds and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, with backing vocals from John Tardy of Obituary. I mean, how fucking cool is that? Now he was added to the track Die Die and released in April of 1990. The band followed it up with tours with Obituary and Deicide. Cancer then started preparing material for their second album at Reel to Reel Studios in Telford with engineer Tony Higley, and in February of 1991 flew out to Florida to begin recording Death Shall Rise with Scott Burns at Morrisound. Amazing. They enlisted the skills of James Murphy of Agent Steel and Obituary on lead guitar, Deicide's Glenn Benton to provide backing vocals for the lead track Hung, Drawn, and Quartered. Now this album was released in April of 1991, and the album would go on to gain a certain amount of notoriety owing to being banned in Germany, whose state body for censorship of works likely to be dangerous to youth considered that the cover art would incite youngsters to incite violence upon each other. Really? Now the album would also subsequently go on to be placed number 27 in Terrorizer's top 40 death metal albums. How fucking awesome is that? Throughout May, Cancer toured throughout the UK, supported by Unleashed and Desecrator. then returned to the USA for an appearance at the 1991 Milwaukee Metal Festival, and further touring in support of Deicide and Obituary. James Murphy left the band in December of 1991 to form Disincarnate and was replaced by Barry Savage. This was followed by further touring throughout the USA, Mexico, Israel, and Europe. So now that you have some background history on the band, let's get into the fucking review. Alright, the album opens with Bloodbath, and instantly we get some really sick, dark, savage riffing, primal drumming, and some amazing ominous bass tones that give the album a sick atmosphere. One thing I will note instantly is the raw, organic production that really sets it apart from so much of the bullshit modern production of today, which I can't fucking stand, especially when bands get overly technical. Jesus Christ. Tech death is a fucking joke, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Just fuck off with your modern tech death bullshit, band. Start making some OSDM and I'll be happy. Anyway, there's also a fair amount of thrash metal elements on this record as well, and I would easily consider this a thrash death metal album for sure. The passion and conviction on this track fully intact. The consistent blasting combined with the mid-tempo riffing and drums really give it a strong sense of groove and hooks that keep it from ever getting boring or dull. Great opening track. Next up we have CFC, and this one wastes no time with its blood-splattered, visceral, skull-splitting attack of brutal riffing drums, bass, and sick vocal work that conveys a very strong sense of death and destruction. There's also some really great mid-tempo sections with some thrash metal riffing that breaks up the death metal monotony, but then it kicks up into high gear into another death metal-fueled mid-tempo groove with some of the greatest groove hooks I've ever heard on an OSDM album, and this is just an instant fucking classic, guys. It really is. And the lead guitar riffs shred like fire on this track, but they aren't overdone, and I can really appreciate that. Why? Because I don't think death metal needs to be technical, okay? And it's okay if it's not used constantly, and bands of the 90s knew how to do it properly. Another great song here. It then immediately shifts into another blistering death metal attack of violence, death, and aggression with Witch Hunt, and this one just might be my favorite on the album. In fact, it is. This one has a double bass pounding aggression for most of its duration, but it also has some incredible, meaty, groovy death metal hooks that make it one of the most absolute memorable hook-inducing tracks on the album that really pulls you into its murderous, violent atmosphere and overall aggressive tendencies, and the lead sections that really shine. But again, they don't overdo it on the technical aspect once again, and it comes across very genuine and honest with lots of passion and fire that comes out of this track. So let's listen to Witch Hunt here on Music of Destruction. Enjoy. And we are back here on the channel, and yeah, this is an absolute killer fucking song. You won't regret loving this record, trust me. Next up, we have Into the Acid, and this one is a thrashy death metal attack with that classic militant snare drumming and 4 on the floor, pounding bass drum with some great double bass work coming in here. And the vile, putrid production paints pictures of bodies being melted by acid with the stench of death hanging thick in the air, and it works really well. There is also a great deal of thrash metal riffing all over this bad boy of a track. Now, vocally, this is quite visceral and violent as well, and it really kicks a lot of ass. And I wish more death metal sounded like this, because the modern bands are fucking garbage. Except, of course, from the underground. But yeah, this is another killer song. Next up, we have another brutal skull pounder with Imminent Catastrophe. And of course, this one absolutely vicious and heavy in its delivery, but also groovy and has a strong sense of hook that really makes it exuviate a lot of emotion and passion with amazing riffs and bass that combine well and become powerful and profound. But that could be said about the entire fucking album, and I really admire the dedication and passion that went into this in order to create something unique and different. Now, while this is definitely a death thrash metal album, there's also a fair amount of originality being displayed here that really shines throughout the album's duration. Now, subsequent albums would obviously be a lot more unique, but I feel like this is a good starting point for what Cancer would evolve into without compromising all the ingredients that made them memorable on this debut. Another killer song here as well. Next up, we have the title track and more of that death thrash metal brutality that attacks all of your senses with really fast blasting and double bass work and snare work with some great tom work here as well. But there's also a great deal of brutality and groove thrash metal balance going on here that I really admire and love about this band and this record. Again, I have to emphasize how perfect the production is on this record because of how organic and raw it sounds. The way the death and thrash metal fits together is crafted with perfection, especially with this raw, muddy production. And I honestly think metal's prime time was, of course, the 80s and the 90s because it wasn't really huge by this time. So in order to stand out, you had to make some very unique music that didn't sound like anyone else. And Cancer have pulled this off in a very unique and profound way. Killer fucking song and album. Next up, we have Body Count. And no, this is not the track where the band Body Count got their name from, so don't even think that. But in all seriousness, this is another brutal banger with tons of double bass and savagery. Riffs come on like a chainsaw, eviscerating flesh and spraying blood and limbs everywhere. And the bass underneath it all adds to a tremendous amount of old school thundering power, as does the drum work and, of course, the vocals. Now, while they do have a death metal tonality to them, there's also some really great thrashy rasping to the vocals here that adds a lot of uniqueness and atmosphere to the album and makes for a great combination and mix to the two styles of music being presented here. Another killer song here as well. Next up, we have Sentence, and yes, more brutal thrash metal madness with some great interesting riff work and brutality, but also a healthy amount of groove thrown in here for good fucking measure. Ladies and gents, this one slows things down a bit and with a really awesome introduction of clean guitar work mixed with some thrashy guitar riffs that really remind me of Motorhead meets Metallica in a lot of ways, but it's also got a lower tuning, so it sounds pretty death metal as well. It then picks up in its brutality and intensity as it progresses forth into a full-on thrash death metal attack, into full double bass brutality, complete with some awesome snarling death metal vocals that really gets under the skin. But it's composed with such intricacy that it never borders on becoming predictable. This is another awesome track with some great lead guitar riffs that kick a lot of ass. Closing out the album is the track Die Die, and this is the one where we have John Tardy on backing vocals, and it's more than an adequate closer because of those reasons, but it also rounds everything off really well. And it's of course another brutal slab of death metal groove with that fast sonic thrashing that combine to create a really amazing listening experience all the way through the album's 35-minute duration. And I feel like if the album was longer, it might have ruined its overall staying power and effectiveness, but the 35-minute duration is perfect for this type of debut, and its pacing and composition works really well to create an experience you won't forget, and you'll want to come back and listen to it again and again. The final verdict for Cancers to the Gory End is going to get a solid 8 out of 10. This is a damn solid offering and an amazing debut, and I recommend it to any fan of OSDM and thrash metal. Alright, so there you have it, guys. Another metal review here in the books here on Music of Destruction. As always, I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed tonight's premiere. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn on the bell so you don't miss anything. Twitter and Instagram, Music of Destruction. Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Music of Destruction. On Twitch, twitch.tv/Music of Destruction. My Teespring store is open. 12 items available for purchase in my merchandise. teespring.com/music-of-destruction. Check that out. You'll love all the merch on there. The Seed episode 30, The History of Iron Maiden Part 3, is up on the page right now. I'm working on a new podcast this week. Didn't have time to get to it last week. I've been working a lot lately. Bear with me, guys. If you'd like to support the channel, please go to patreon.com/Music of Destruction. Select the $5 tier. Get access for life to the podcast. Your support going to new things like equipment, lighting, green screen, all that great stuff. Speaking of which, Colton, James, and myself got the cameras in. We're ordering the lights next for our new channel, Reviews on the Run, movie and game reviews, as well as some behind-the-scenes stuff of some film that we're working on right now. So let's check out a clip he just made recently of what you can expect.
Here I am, Wheezy. Hey, you're gonna like it down here. Come on, I want to be a partner when I buy a ticket, you dumb-down bitch.
I'm sorry, Ricardo.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
And we are back. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share the video. Have an awesome night. We will see you for Album Ranking Wednesdays. Cheers, everybody.